Patrick Kane is the talk of New York hockey. Why, I don't understand. About a week ago, the New York Rangers had Vladimir Tarasenko, and this man, Patrick Kane, had a complete breakout of craziness throughout the press, stating that he was very upset that it wasn't him. It was Vladimir Tarasenko. He wanted so badly to go to New York and Madison Square Garden and help the New York Rangers win a Stanley Cup. And now the stories coming out of Chicago is Patrick Kane is willing to waive his no movement clause for the Rangers and the Maple Leafs and not the New York Islanders. So including yours truly and every Islander fan that probably wanted Patrick Kane to decide that he wants to be an Islander, he came out and said that he doesn't want to be one. He has control of where he wants to go. And Chicago is asking for a big package. Being that this is his final year, it's going to probably be pushed off to the trade deadline. Chicago's going to have to take whatever is given to him. It doesn't matter who it is. The fact is, Patrick will not be there next year on their roster. Now, if the Chicago Blackhawks take half the contract for the rest of the season and trade him to the Rangers or the Maple Leafs, right now the Maple Leafs are over the cap.
That includes players on IR, too.
And the Rangers are only $1 million under the cap. Both teams are going to have to ask Chicago to take some of the contract. Where Patrick Kane is probably going to land, and my prediction from the beginning was the New York Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers are definitely going to have to make something financially work. Now, is it going to be worth it to add more wingers, more offense, so they already have a lot of depth in already, is going to be another question. Obviously, Patrick Kane's a superstar player in his prime, but he's had a kind of down year this year. Only 35 points this year, 9 goals, playing for a bad team, but still. But again, they're going to have to trade off some other assets to another team maybe to make it work, get a third team involved. And are they going to want to do that with their line depth or their defense depth? They're going to have to get $5 million to make it work and hopefully have Chicago pay off half that contract, which is going to be $5.25 million. And for the Rangers, I think it makes a lot more sense to just target more depth like they did last year. They got the big fish with Tarasenko now. If they end up getting Kane for less and they can make it work, I'm not going to be mad, but I don't know how realistic it'll be considering the circumstances. There are other teams that are interested in him too that we've heard. Patrick Kane has not come out and said that he wouldn't want to be traded there. Vegas was one of them. Minnesota, which is going to be hard because it's in division, the Hurricanes, and Buffalo. And Buffalo makes a lot of sense considering they have a lot of money.
He's not going to Buffalo, especially with everything that happened in the past when he was accused doing what he did in the offseason in Buffalo when he didn't. So I don't see him going to Buffalo. I think it's either the Rangers or the Maple Leafs. They're just going to have to make it work. If the Maple Leafs decide that they want Patrick Kane, they're just going to have to give Chicago something where they can take most of the contract on and trade Patrick Kane. What team is willing to give up a piece or two that can land him Patrick Kane? I think it's going to be the Rangers. I think the Rangers need offensive help on their fourth line. They can move some of their offensive players, maybe one of the youngsters, to that fourth line and put Patrick Kane on that youth line with Kako or one of those guys. And having Patrick Kane as a depth piece going into the playoffs, by the way, Patrick Kane is a fantastic playoff player. Great skating ability and all the different things that he could do, especially on the second power play. So I think Patrick Kane will be a Ranger. When push comes to shove, Chicago wants to get something for him. They're not just going to go into the offseason and lose him for nothing. They're going to look at it and say, we got to get what we got to get for it. And if we have to take on most of the contract, it's only going to be half the season. It's not going to benefit us not to take it. It'll only benefit us if we do take it.
And the Rangers have all this time to figure it out, so too. Even going back to the offseason, they were favorites at the time for Patrick Kane. Now they got Tarasenko too. How does that factor in? Will be another question, but they have all the time to figure it out since he announced it now. And that's obviously going to drop some of the value if the value wasn't already shot for Chicago.
Expected, it's either the Rangers and the Maple Leafs because he has a no movement clause. Right. So he has to decide on where he wants to go. And if those are the only teams he wants to go to, it really puts Chicago in a position where they're going to just have to negotiate with one of those teams and send him where he wants to go. It seems like those are the two teams that have the best chance to get him. As far as the Islanders are concerned, the Islanders need to figure something out. Lambert called for a special practice the other day. He was trying to get the troops fired up. I heard he was doing a lot of yelling. Yesterday, coming back from that Pittsburgh Penguins game was fantastic, but they need to start winning now. And Lou Lamariello already came out and said that in the next 7 games, and that was like 4 games ago, I am going to make a decision if we're buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. The Islanders are 3 games in hand with Pittsburgh, 4 games in hand for Buffalo. Even though Washington right now is ahead of them, they have the same amount of games. The Islanders need to continue winning. Played the Bruins this afternoon. They need to keep winning. And if they don't keep winning, being that they've played more games than all these teams either ahead of them or only 2 or 3 points behind them, the Islanders put themselves in a position where even if they start to win, they still have to be looking in front of them or looking behind them.